After a clip of a fired-up Nolan Siegel from last Sunday night's NTT IndyCar Series race at Gateway made its way to the internet, the McLaren driver has apologized for his outburst on the radio. Siegel was very upset when race officials gave him a penalty for blocking Team Penske's Scott McLaughlin. As a result, he used some colourful language on the radio, dropping several F-bombs and telling Penske to go F themselves. Earlier today, Siegel issued an apology in the form of a video and then a statement on his Instagram story. He's put, I want to sincerely apologize to my team, our partners, and our fans for the outburst and language I used over the radio during the past race weekend. In the heat of the moment, I let my emotions take over, and that doesn't reflect who I really am. There's no excuse for what I said. I take full responsibility for my actions, and I regret letting down the incredible group of people who support me both on and off the track. I'm committed to learning from this and showing up with the professionalism, composure, and respect the team and our fans deserve. I'm focused on this upcoming race weekend and giving everything I have to deliver a performance worthy of the hard work the number 6 crew and I put in together. McLaren put out a statement stating, at our McLaren, we hold ourselves to the highest standards of professionalism, respect, and sportsmanship on and off the track. Obviously, they got AI to write that first bit, thinking about what they've done with drivers in the last few years. But nonetheless, it continues saying the language expressed over our radio during this past race weekend does not reflect who we are as a team. We do not condone that behaviour. We've addressed it directly with Nolan, and he is taking responsibility for his actions. Accountability is a core value at our McLaren, and we expect every team member to represent our partners, fans, and organisation with integrity. Additionally, we expect our fans and online community to act with respect and civility, and we will not tolerate hate, abuse, or discrimination within our social media platforms. It is vital that we collectively maintain a safe and welcoming community for all involved. Now, earlier this year, Indy Next driver Jack William Miller was penalised at Barber Motorsport Park for being disrespectful towards race officials. We never found out the specific details, but Miller was fined $5,000, placed on probation for the rest of the 25 season, and lost a set of tyres and had to start the race from the back of the field. The photo taken here by Phil Hurley from Penske Entertainment. Well, Kirby, was Siegel's apology necessary, or is this whole situation being overblown?
I'll be honest, Josh. I had to sit back and think about this quite a bit this afternoon. Listening to the audio that was posted on social media of Nolan Siegel, telling Penske who F themselves how mad he was over the penalty. And it kind of reminds me of what we were talking about, last few months about, WRDA, in the World Rally Championship, about the heat in the moment situations, how whatever you say on the radio, when you're in the heat of the moment, if you happen to slip up, say drop an F-bomb or whatever, it's not going to cost you anything or anything like that. But if you're like, say, in like an official press conference setting, and you say that, then you're going to be in trouble. The way I viewed this Nolan Siegel situation was potentially, maybe they had him put out this apology himself, and then had the team put out the apology to basically avoid what happened, to Jack William Miller. And, since this, new hybrid engines come around in IndyCar, and admittedly, the hybrid has, performed reasonably well the last 2 races at Detroit and Gateway. So as I've said on Monday night, maybe we're turning a corner on that. So that's a discussion for a different day. But given how important track position is in today's modern era of IndyCar racing, maybe they wanted to avoid that situation, of the series penalizing Nolan for, basically tell the race officials who work for Penske Entertainment to go F themselves. Maybe they wanted to show some goodwill here to avoid, being like, hey, you're not going to let you qualify. You're going to have to start from the back of the field. And then, Nolan's starting last, and then you're on the back foot the entire day. And unless, the caution come out at the wrong at the right time for you, probably going to be a long day for the number 16. So that's really the only reason I think that they would, have an issue apology to probably, show some goodwill towards the series. So you're not going to, as I saw, the series will not potentially penalize him. But all in all, honestly did not have an issue, with Nolan Siegel being fired up on the radio, because, that's a heat in the moment situation. He was obviously very frustrated. You probably don't want to be telling, Penske, who owns the series, to go F themselves or anything like that. Not a smart thing for Nolan to do there, but I do understand the frustration in the heat of the moment. But for me, honestly did not see this as, a big deal. I've certainly heard people say much worse on the radio.
Yeah, I have to agree, Kobe. It's one of those things in the moment that everyone gets fired up about that kind of thing if it's happening to you. And of course, Nolan coming back off the back of Detroit, where he also had that run in with McLaughlin, which put him out of the race in terms of a decent result, and ended McLaughlin's chance of a win with the penalty that he got served for turning Siegel around on that restart. So second race in a row that those two guys have come together. Are we going to have now every time that there's a Penske car involved in a slightly controversial, if I get my words out, incident, and it goes to race control? Is everybody going to be up in arms about it off the back of what happened at Indianapolis? Seems that way at the moment. It is kind of trending in that direction. Also trending in that direction is a statement put out by everybody when something might have happened. It's becoming a bit ridiculous. We talked about Hotavar at the top of the show, which, okay, yeah, perhaps was justified. This one just seems a bit okay, whatever. I'm probably going to have to put out a statement on social media tomorrow myself when I eat a sandwich with no butter in, and I'll have to apologise to the butter companies for not putting margarine in my sandwich. It's getting to a point where, as Josh pointed out, we can just stick a load of words into ChatGPT now, and it will churn out a statement for us, and we can post that when that's clearly not been written by a human being. That Arrow McLaren statement, as Josh pointed out as he was reading it, just silly. We all work well. We're in this game 24/7, looking at stuff and being involved. And you can look at that. That's not been written by a human being.
Yeah, Matt. And one thing I wanted to point out, I know Nathan Brown from the Indy Star, he brought up an interesting example. I know we don't usually like to compare, stick and ball sports to motorsports, but Nathan used the example of of an NFL player, an NBA player, like going up to officials and telling them, go F yourself. Like, what's going to happen to them after that? You're either going to get a tech, or you're going to in basketball, or you're going to, get an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, or you're just going to get tossed from the game if you do something like that. But the situation, I view that different. That's like an in-your-face thing. Like, Nolan's in the car, he's not in the official space. If Nolan had went up to a race official, and said, go F yourselves, then I would think this apology would be necessary. But the fact that he was inside the car at the time, that's why I think, that this is not really a big deal. I really didn't think, Nolan needed to put out a statement over this. I didn't really think Arrow McLaren needed to put out a statement over this, but maybe a sponsor was unhappy when they saw the clip or something like that. Or, like I said, maybe they just wanted to avoid what happened to Jet William Miller and Indy Next and avoid a penalty that could put them on the back foot at Road America. That's really the only thing that I can think of. But for me, I just saw it, hey, he's frustrated in the moment. That's what we love. We want to see drivers be authentic, be themselves out there. But when you have situations like this happen, then you're going to have the drivers censor themselves even more, and then you're not going to see the personalities, that people say they want to see.
I agree with you both 100%. Go on.
First mention of stick and ball sports there from Kobe. More on that later.
No, it's telling Penske F themselves is on mind of drivers in IndyCar. It's not a Penske driver. Yeah, we were talking about that, me and Jake Sanson, actually, how much mess they're in.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was kind of trending towards there. Denver's got the same idea as me. If you run in with a Penske driver, you're going to be upset with race control, aren't you? So we'll see if anything happens at Road America at the weekend. I'm sure it will.